Welcome to block number 2 of UnMetal Unleashed, the unhinged, unbelievable, unbad speedrunning event. Brought to you by Metal Gear Solid Speedrunners and Versus Evil. What we're doing here is we have a batch of players, all vying for world record ultimately. Initially, we had a developer set time of 50 minutes that got absolutely shattered by what was his name? Puzon76 shattered that time with a 49-23. And we've got a couple of runners here who are looking to beat that themselves. So, live, you can see we've got Apache Smash in the featured slot. Nick RP Green, Totorock, and ItsDevilDude are all going to try and beat that time. And while we're here, we've got giveaway keys, we've got developers doing commentary, we've got voice actors that are going to be popping in and out. We got everything, folks, so make sure you stick around for this event because we've only just begun. With that, I'm going to introduce your commentators today. We've got Jack LaFear, Sergeant Silent, and the developer himself, Unepic Fren, is here right now, as well as voice actress Muri, who is in the game. I'm Mac McD, your host. I'll be popping in and out with donations. And speaking of which, we've got two to bring up real quick. ItsDevilDude donated 10 euros and said another PB is incoming. He got one in the first block. And Zero Syrian donated €12.40 18 minutes ago. So get those donations in. We are benefiting Fundacio Kasumai. And with that, I guess, Jack and Sergeant, take it away.
I picked up.
Awesome. Thank you, Mac, for that introduction. How is everyone? How are you doing, Jack? That was a nice little break, and I'm excited to be back with all of our runners. We have two new runners from last block. As Mac said, we now have Apache on the screen. He has been a large contributor to this game. I'm surprised he doesn't have a PB yet. I'm very excited. This is my first time seeing him do full runs. What about you? What about you, Jack? Have you seen him do a full run? Do you have any insight on them?
You know, I haven't seen him do a full run, but I have seen him for hours on end work on individual levels to polish each level one at a time. It's good to see Nick and DevilDude back, but Totorock is another individual that's been doing some really good work and runs as well, almost busting the 1 hour mark. It's kind of, this is going to be a great segment. Specifically because we're probably gonna see some different strats, especially with Toto. I've noticed Toto doing some different things than the rest at times.
Yeah, I've not seen Toto do a run yet. Oh, I watched. I'm one of the verifiers for the speedrun.com board that we have for UnMetal, and I have seen Toto do a run, and he did some interesting choices, interesting decisions. So I'm actually agree with you. I'm very excited to see Toto. And as Mac said, we also have with us Fran and Muri. Have either of you seen any of these runners? Do you have anything you're excited to see or want to see out of them?
I was muted because I was eating a cookie. No. This is all new to me. When Jack told me, like, hey, people are speedrunning UnMetal, I was so shocked, and I'm so excited. This is so cool.
Hey, Muri, how can you say that? There's keeping your voice.
Yeah, well, you know, you win some, you lose some.
You know, if we're too quick, we actually will accidentally move while trying to equip and use the wire. And we get to hear it there. So don't worry, you're definitely in the run.
So, some random notes. First and foremost, Apache is actually opting to get more experience than the rest. Totorock is at Grenade Guy right now with enough experience to level off of Grenade Guy. Mm-hmm. And if you can see, Apache got Sprint beforehand, which will actually influence the way that they can do the shots fighting against the RNG of Grenade Guy's waltz.
Yeah, so I believe you told me you need about a 1 square lead. So when you come into this boss with Sprint, that 1 square lead, it's still there, but you now move faster. So you have to adjust your shots differently. You have to consider his position differently. Like, Sprint essentially completely changes this fight just by that little 10% movement speed. So
that's true. That's true.
One of the things that one tile lead is different in hard than on easy, because easy they move slower, and it actually affects the distance at which you can fight safely, because of being able to move ahead and do the pre-shot beforehand. It's a really interesting little way of changing the way you use the space and save yourself.
Yeah, like you just said they fight differently. Another example, if you're on medium or hard, Grenade Guy decided he knows how to throw 3 grenades at once, and we can all tell you from the days we ran the demo that no, that's not fun.
All right, quick question, a little bit on the personal side. Have you ever tried throwing 3 objects at once from one hand? It is not easy.
Considering how much a grenade typically weighs on top of that thought, yeah, I can imagine he is called Grenade Guy for a reason. He is skilled.
So, a worldly boss, Rotsko being taken down. Fran, what were you about to say?
I'm going to tell you a secret. So he throws 3 grenades because when I tried to do the programming to launch a grenade on the cocktail, so it was not very good, and he tended to fail time by time. So I said, okay, let's throw 3 at a time. So maybe it will be easier to touch the main cocktail. So it's just me being not being good at aiming the main cocktail.
So the reason we have so many speedrunners hate Grenade Guy is because you don't feel good at aiming on the main character.
Yeah, that's correct. It's because my incompetence trying to hit the player when he's stopped, which should be, direct. So okay, let's insert 3 grenades instead.
Today we learned that's going in the wiki.
Yeah.
No, go ahead with what you were about to say.
I wanted to say it's interesting. I've been watching Apache while I chat, and I look over and I see Toto is actually already past the doggo skip. He's moving along quite fast. I didn't even notice that. That is just, it's hard to focus on the other side screens. Like, I'm not used to seeing this many things moving at once. That's like, it's Nick is doing the doggo. Whoa, Nick's doing the dog skip from up there?
Yep. This is a alternative version where you can try to get the dog to move more distance. By the way, let's bring Toto up to main screen.
There we go.
Now we get to see. So Sergeant, can you talk about why they're not healing? Why Toto's not healing?
Yeah. So the way this game, at least our understanding, is roughly coded is that if you get sent into bleeding, you can run all the way to a checkpoint, and as long as you were sent into bleeding from full HP, when you get to that checkpoint, you can promptly reload that checkpoint, and the game considers that you saved in a state of bleeding, and in order to prevent you from getting in a really unfortunate situation, it gives you all of your health back. So a lot of the time, if you see the runners get put in a situation where they're bleeding, they don't have to worry about healing because they know there is a checkpoint coming up that they can promptly reload, and that is especially evident in Chapter 2. With the doggo skip you just saw, that makes us bleed, and we take advantage of that and the fact we don't have to heal by reloading multiple times to just save the little bit of time it takes to heal by more optimal movement.
Gotcha. Side note, Fran, do you think Apache's going to pick cheese or acorn?
I think cheese, the first one.
Okay.
No, acorn, the first one.
Acorn? Let's see.
Yeah, what is you guys' favorite? Do you prefer cheese or acorn?
I prefer acorn because it has, in my humble opinion, a funnier backstory.
I think
Oh,
the
yeah, for the
squirrels are less expected.
They were definitely less expected. What are you, Fran? What do you prefer, cheese or acorn?
I prefer acorn as well for the story as well. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of acorn fans up in here.
By the way, side note, Apache's favorite mission is Chapter 2. This is the one that they have spent the second most time optimizing, behind Chapter 5. That I do know.
Yeah, he has been in Discord doing hours and hours of Chapter 2. I do not like Chapter 2, but he loves it, and I respect him for loving it. It is a chapter, and it's one of the longer ones. It takes a lot of work to do this chapter optimally, so he probably is gonna have the best chapter to do out of all of them. It's insane the amount of work he has put into this chapter.
I'm curious to see if Apache is going to go for the secret for the stamina.
Yeah. Did you happen to see if he went for the first one or not?
He skipped first one, I think. What did you see it, Fran, or?
Yeah, he went for the stamina.
Okay.
Okay.
There we are.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Toto here went for the second one, so he went for that. I see Devil is currently grabbing the secret, the first secret. So I think most of them will definitely be grabbing the second one, but we'll see. We will see.
So as far as I know, you found a trick to optimize the flamethrower, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes.
That
Go
was
on.
found by the community. I believe it's unfortunately it's right there. I believe it's I've not actually really spent a lot of time on this. It looks like if you rapidly tap the flamethrower like we see Toto, its DPS essentially multiplies by quite a lot.
So this is one of the things that I tested out and worked on. Your heat efficiency is about, generally speaking, 30 to 40 more %, but this is before the patch changed it from easy. So in a most recent patch, easy is now faster to, or it dissipates heat 50% faster. So heat, between the heat dissipation increase, and I believe you can increase your DPS almost by Toto.
Dude, it's the shredders, man. It's the shredders.
Yeah, but the first pulse
Mr. Fox
can actually apply up to double damage if you time it correctly because of the way that it applies damage. So by tapping it rapidly, you can actually, if done in the right rhythm, increase your damage up to almost double, it feels like at times.
Do you know, does what part of the flamethrower contacts matter, or does the entire flamethrower beam do the same damage?
So, I can only speculate, but I bet Fran could say something more in detail.
It's same damage. It's just 1 point.
Okay.
So the whole flamethrower is just 1 point per flame.
And there are multiple flames coming out as you push it, correct?
Yeah, it's I don't remember the exact speed, but the thing is maybe 10 per second or 15 per second. Sorry, it's been it's been a while since I created the flamethrower. It was one of the first things I did.
Can I ask a question on the personal level? Is the flamethrower built off the spell Flame Breath of an epic?
It's similar. I'm not reusing the same code, but I just did it in the same way.
Okay.
I also have a technical question about the flamethrower, if you don't mind. Does the flamethrower spawn all 15? I'm assuming it's 15, all 15 at once and then spread out, or does it spawn 1 and then chain link that out to 2, then 3?
No, it's just one single. Let's call it bullet that gets bigger. And it doesn't spread over time. It's just the same one coming bigger and bigger.
Okay. So one bullet is just growing in its damage box. I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, also, Sergeant, I'd like to introduce you to someone.
I'm excited.
Sergeant, I'd like to introduce you to Jesse Fox.
How you doing, Sergeant?
Oh my
Lord.
God, it's the Jesse Fox. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Fox.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of
Oh,
course,
God.
of course.
Also, his a voice actor, not his voice actor, Novus.
Yeah, he's here too.
Okay, I have something to tell to say to Andrew. Jesse, I am your father.
What? No! That's impossible!
Hello, Andrew. Hello, man.
Hello, friend.
So, just a quick note on what's happening on screen. Totorock just finished Mechadrone and a 2-cycle, using a strategy that was possibly going to be done by Plywood last time, and it worked out really well. Looks like Apache is not far behind as well.
Speaking of Plywood, if I could interject quickly, we've got a donation from Plywood, who ran in our first block of 53 euros 24. Said donating the euro amount of the time I need to beat. So thank you so much, Plywood, for that donation.
Nice.
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 So,
All right. So it looks like Toto is returning. He beat the boss. Something you'll notice actually, our players, the quote-unquote intended strat is to make a chloroform rag and walk into the next room, knock out a guard, and casually walk around. Very quickly, we discovered that the level intends for you to run all the way back to the beginning, but there's a fun Easter egg where if you sniff the chloroform, because that's literally what's happening, it actually sends you back to the start. So instead of making a chloroform rag weapon, what we're going to do is actually keep the chloroform. You hold on to it all the way up until we can use it after activating the trigger for needing to run back and instantly teleport. A journey that would take maybe 40 to 60 seconds normally. You'll see if they do it quickly enough, takes less than 1 in the IGT.
Oh, dang. So smart.
For a while, you could use that anywhere, including not Chapter 3, but that got changed pretty quickly, because ending up in Chapter 3 when you were in Chapter 7 was not very fun.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
so, as a small side note, Mary, when the previous room had 3 different choices, GRD, DTC, and SHP. Do you remember which one you chose?
You said good job because I picked the guards.
Yes.
And you were like, you said congrats. And I was like, what does that mean? And then I figured it out later, of course, but...
Yeah, so to put it in perspective, of the first 50 people I watched play this game on stream, 0 people chose guards. 0.
Oh.
And 42 of them picked SHP.
Of course. Beautiful.
Which is weird that over 80% of the people I watched picked that.
I'm telling you, it's something about that, just SHP, those letters together look so enticing. You gotta pick it.
You gotta.
So,
the
while
intention,
Toto... Oh, go on, Fran.
excuse me, the intention was the player thought it was a ship, some sort of ship, not sheep. But I think it didn't work. It was just something unknown. Let's go for it.
What's great is almost all of them have said something to, is that sheep? Is that sheep? Select. And then the result happens.
Yeah.
And then there's 250 sheep, and you can't go back.
I love that the checkpoint is literally right after you choose.
Yeah. Well, casually playing, the amount of times I restarted only to realize, oh yeah, nope, I'm locked in the sheep, was non-zero.
I just love how like the sensors and the guards are easily explainable. That doesn't have to go into any more detail. But if you pick sheep, it still doesn't tell you.
Right.
Yeah. This is normal.
Yep.
I don't know. Sergeant, I mean, with a name like Sergeant, you've been on a military base or 15. I mean, they all have sheep rooms, right?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, every base has to have at least some form of livestock, but sheep is definitely the most popular. 250? That's a little much, but this is a pretty big base, so I can understand where they're going with that.
Yeah, no, that's totally reasonable. Totorock went boom.
Oh,
Boom
dear.
twice.
Well, I think he is live fire testing which mine pattern he got.
So-
Oh.
Oh.
So to explain what some people mentioned in their first block, it seems that the generation of the mines happens when you load the game. So many people may actually play through this point, test out to see which pattern of the 6 patterns that the community has identified, and figure out the right path to go. The question is Totorock going to go the safe way and go for the Minesweeper? And it looks like the backup plan is going to be the case. This will give Apache a chance to catch up. This is a significant detour.
Yes,
And
it
go on.
changes the level. I think the level is like 2.5 IGT if you do the minefield skip. But with it changes it upwards to a 6-minute level. It's 2 minutes there, 2 minutes back, roughly. So it's quite the detour.
That said, this is the coolest boss to see anyone speedrun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This boss, 10 shots. Just if you do this without having to reload, and with the minimum amount of movement, it's gonna look real clean from Toto. So I'm super excited to see what kind of boss fight we'll get here, because it is it's everyone's favorite boss that we sadly skipped.
This is incredibly cool to watch on easy. It is almost pixel perfect to do in a single rotation on hard. By a difference.
Okay.
3, 4.
Oh, that's unfortunate. He missed the shot. See, I didn't actually know you could shoot over those, like, engine generators, so I have a completely different way of doing that boss fight. Knowing you can do that, it seems interesting, but I wrote a pattern map out for this as to which ones spawn where, and 3 turrets at the very top spawn in sequence, like back to back to back. So if you're at the bottom of the screen, optimally hitting all 3 of those targets would be very challenging. So I'd be very interested to test whether the bottom or the top of the screen is better, because I've seen multiple different ways of doing that. Is Apache also going to be going?
Yeah, he's not doing mind skip.
Oh, yeah.
That's
You know
weird.
what? Just because we never get to see this, I almost want to see if we can swap in Apache for Toto.
It's just every time we get a chance to see Turret Swarm, we're putting Turret Swarm on. That's how good it is.
Yeah, Apache has practiced this one a lot. Interestingly enough, I can't speak to if it's the most efficient or not, but on hard, the challenge of this is so heavy that you have to literally use the music itself as an audio cue so that you can shoot at the correct times. Because every one of those turrets have 2 hit points.
Do they also go down quicker in hard?
They do not, but they shoot. The cooldown to shoot is way faster.
They definitely shoot faster, and taking 2 hits, even at the same speed, is gonna be. I definitely can see the challenge there. Since I've
You
played
have
through
to
the
have
game
a-
on hard.
You have to have a bullet mid-air in order for it to hit the turret before it shoots.
See the strat that Apache is doing. This is what I typically do. That just looks so clean. I love seeing that done like that.
That's how I remember doing it.
Thanks, Jesse.
This is the perfect moment for the ghost drone to use it in this boss. So
Oh,
it
yeah,
shoots. It shoots. You don't have to move. All Tauros are killed. At least I think in easy it works.
I don't.
How?
Hmm?
Go on.
Go on. I don't think anyone in the community, at least I've not seen any of the active runners, really mess around with the special items that much. We decided as a community that special items would be its own category because, you know, we don't like making a game any more pay to win than necessary. And you know, bonus items, the bonus strats, different things, different happens. So we put it as its own thing. I've not seen what the unepic whelp and the ghost drone can do. I'm actually really excited to see someone do a run with those items, and I can only imagine how much more optimized some of these rooms can really get with that.
That's why you're not using the. That's why you're not using the founder item.
Correct. Yeah.
The God Mode 1. Okay, that explains everything. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if someone wants to God mode through the red room or something, they're more than welcome to do that. It'll be its own thing.
But it's only limited in vulnerability, so it's not just preventing damage. It prevents mostly projectile or damage from weapons.
So it wouldn't even
red
work in
room.
the red room.
Yep, it wouldn't. At least I don't think it works in the red room. I don't think it would be intended because that would be a room it would allow for a casual player to skip.
Also, remind me if I'm wrong here. The only rings in the game are both. Is there 2 or 3 rings? And they're both in level 1, are they not?
I
There's
believe
3?
there's 3 to 4 rings, and they're in chapter 1 and 2.
Okay.
Ah.
So you would have to route those in, but that definitely could lead to an interesting routing category and stuff. Like I said, I'm super excited to see the kind of stuff people could pull off with those items.
They add some options, and to explain for the chat, there are rings in the game that once upon a time didn't have a use, and when Fran wanted to reward people to get his game, you have special abilities with some items that you can fuel with the rings that had no use before. The unepic whelp gives you trades a stamina for a ring. The ghost drone turns into an attack mode where it just kind of shoots anything nearby. And the founder or the God mode artifact activates a limited invulnerability, God mode reference to all the old games for, I think, 10 to 15 seconds, Fran, if I'm correct?
Yeah, 10 to 15, depending on the level of difficulty.
So, stamina just, for your knowledge, I've investigated this, Sergeant. Stamina just reduces the routing rooms that you have to hit so that you can do the red room skip. The drone is actually insanely useful. As Fran talked about how it just keeps shooting things, it's just a direct DPS skyrocket. So, it's some pretty cool stuff.
I'm going to interject real quick to say how cool it is to have the actual developer of the game giving this level of granular detail into the underworkings of it. It's a very neat dynamic to have during a speedrunning event, but I'm also going to take this opportunity to point out that Puzon76, our current world record holder, donated 20 euros and said, "Don't forget to record every speedrun, kids." As he did not record that fundamentally wonderful time of his. So yeah, good advice from our current world record holder.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. All that #1 rule of speedrunning is always record your run. There's a lot of #1 rules to speedrunning, but #1 rule is always record. You never know when you're gonna PB. What's up, Jack?
So while we are working through the maze here, it's swapping over to Toto, who's rounding out the end of stage 5 with a 2-minute 13-second timer on this chapter so far. You know the average times and such on any percent more than me, Sergeant. How is a 225-ish at this point?
225 is pretty good. It means he didn't have many, if any, snags. I think my personal is like 256, maybe 302. It's very good. And I really like how this level works and how you approach it, because casually, most people are going to try to do this level and they're going to say, all right, I want to get all the experience, I want to explore the level, I want to do that. And it was obviously designed around that. That's why there's a message in there about, hey, if you're a ways away from a bathroom, use a potty. It's a nice place. It's super easy to run into a guy and get an alert. It turns out the way the alerts work in this, as long as you trigger a guard seeing you and then exit the screen before he actually calls the alert in, he will never call the alert in. So you can literally just run through the entire level without fear of re-triggering an alert, and just the doors never lock. And that's why it's so quick. It's crazy how that level, like, Jack, you could speak more to, that is not the route you would take if you were trying to take all the guards out.
I fundamentally am jealous. I am so jealous. Oh, a miss by Toto on one of the things. He has to go for a backup grenade. And
It looks like he's just
honestly,
opting for the reset there.
between you and I, he could have just pulled out the pistol.
He could have, but I think he wants to I think he wants to optimize his grenades. But yeah, he could have pulled out the pistol there, because yeah, what surprises me, why does the pistol still hurt the guard, hurt the engineers who are not being hit by the pistol?
Because their machines are blowing up in front of them.
This is just that good.
I mean,
I also would have accepted science.
Obviously.
yeah. I mean, think about it this way, okay? Imagine if you were streaming on Twitch and your computer blew up by your legs. You're not going to just walk away and be like, I'm not hurt.
Well, actually, that's happened multiple times. If you ask anyone in the community, my computer is not good. But I'll take it I'm an exception.
That's okay. That said, it's totally different when a grenade destroys it and it blows up in shrapnel, my friend.
You're right. You're right. I gotta agree with you there.
It's okay. Hey, Jesse, how did you feel when you punched these missiles?
I mean, mostly a normal day.
Please
Isn't
don't.
isn't that part of your workout?
Oh God.
Had to test to make sure they were active. Why? How do you do that?
We don't punch them.
Maybe you don't.
Most missiles don't respond well to punches.
All right.
Wow,
for the
pulling
doctor,
up.
I'll make an exception.
This is from the Hunt of the Red October, by the way. You know the sentence you say that beware, most of the instruments don't react well to punches. It's taken directly from the Hunt of the Red October. And one guy in Twitter, he told me, "Hey, that's from the Red October," and I said, "Oh yeah, it is," and I felt just happy for it because someone just got the quote.
Nice.
Nice.
It's a quite hard to get, by the way.
It's funny how many references you put in. There are still, I think, 2 or 3 references that people have not gotten just in any playthrough I've watched of the game.
Oh yeah.
So it's really funny when you see a person get a first reference. And truth be told, I forgot that line when it existed until Fran told me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, there's lines in here I didn't know existed. There's lines I've forgotten existed. Like, a lot of this, you notice it the first time, and then, at least from my perspective, because I'm a speedrunner, it's like, all right, now skip all the dialogue. And it leaves because I'm more focused on other things. But there's some writing in this game that, top quality. It's really worth noticing what's being said in this game and sometimes digging into it.
Thank you.
So, Toto doing the safe center strat, staying at long distance, giving the maximum amount of time to shoot, and give Huge Eel a little bit of food.
I love that deal.
Every time they bump a wall, it scares me. Because the way the sub works, if you contact anything, there goes all the sub's HP. It's awful.
So, do you remember how we were listening to Sergeant talk about playing on 1.0 patch until recently?
Oh no.
Did you know that the damage of the sub has been significantly nerfed for easy difficulty since then?
Oh, I thought that was for the mines. I didn't know that was for the walls too.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
Fran, I believe it's, isn't it like 30% and 50%, I think is what the reduction
It's
was?
50%. 50%.
And
Wow.
30% for medium, though.
Yeah,
Okay.
the submarine easy is not very American. It doesn't explode with just by a single touch, like American vehicles.
I love it.
Hey, don't give it to me. I saw this joke in lots of movies, common movies. The typical thing, the two cars just touching a little, and then they blow away. Boom.
We like to keep things exciting over here.
Yeah.
Adrenaline filled, live life dangerously when your car is gonna blow up in a single touch.
I do want to give a shout out to DevilDude, who is on track to significantly beat their current PB. I've been keeping an eye on the timing, and compared to last time, it looks like they've already shaved off a good few minutes.
Oh no! Commentator's curse, he just got the full alert. Now he has to wait this out in full or he can't continue the level.
Hell, Jack, this is your fault.
It's my fault.
Toto just had to reload because he got an alert. Devil did, hoping Nick doesn't get a full alert. Okay, Nick managed to make it out.
I am a full alert fool. I don't do anything halfway, it looks like.
Oh no.
Just forget, he missed one, and he doesn't know which one is it.
Oh no, Toto!
That's
Oh, there it
unfortunate.
is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it sucks when you miss the first one. Well, it looks like Nick has jumped to the front here now. So, that's gonna be someone to keep your eye on. But Toto is just behind him. We're coming up to the nuclear sub for Nick here as well. This is a fight that I've seen a lot of people do differently. What strats have you seen people using for the sub? And do you have any opinions on that versus how you play the game, Jack? Or how you guys play the game casually as well?
Let's go with the casual approach first, because playing on the sub on hard difficulty versus easy difficulty is not a short subject. So, Miri, let's just ask you, how was the sub for you on your first common playthrough? And I assume you too, Novas. How was it for your playthrough?
Oh, so, I think it was fine on the normal. On the hard, it kicked my butt though. Like, I was there for a while.
Yeah, the hard difficulty just.
Oh boy. Make me relive it, please.
By the way, small shout out. Toto and Nick are neck and neck. Oh, maybe not anymore.
No.
Commentator's curse. I should stop talking.
It's the curse of the sub. Honestly, I don't know how, Fran, you decided on the geo for the outlines of these broken areas, but the amount of time that I've tried to run and just got stuck on some random bit of broken geo has been infuriating on this fight. It's so easy. One little.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. In fact, it's I think it's a square, something like that. Oh, he's been killed. Oops, problems.
Fran's so casual about his commentator curse.
It's fine.
Oops.
So, continue, Fran. I'm sorry. Continue.
So the thing is, it's the area is a square, and I ask Marcel to do it squarish, the most he can, the most he could. But in the end, the thing is, I know that it's a square, and when I test it, I know it's a square. I know where's the area, so subconsciously I tend to avoid it. But other players do not, because they don't know. So this is something is not done in purpose, of course.
Yeah. So I gotta ask about one of the mechanics of the sub. Is the sections that break, are they based on them taking a certain amount of hits, or when the sub reaches a certain HP, a single hit will break?
It's the second one. So once the sub reaches 50% of HP, as one missile strikes the area goes down.
Okay.
Even one. But it's just it depends on the HP on the submarine.
So, interesting note that you bring that up. I tested that out in hard, and I actually do my route specifically to take advantage of that. I do a final run by on the middle to allow and take advantage of that, so I have the movement as needed between the fights. So
Yeah, the best should be grenades, and when it's 50%, just start with rockets. Pum directly.
exactly. Going on to how that is, in hard difficulty, instead of shooting 2 missiles per volley, it shoots 8 missiles volley, which creates a carpet bombing effect along the ground. And when going into that situation, you have to almost... half of the battle becomes a puzzle of how do you set them down so that you don't screw yourself over later on.
And now Toto is back in the lead. Dude,
This is a great fun.
Wow.
That said, it's a good pattern for Toto. Being able, if the river is going along with the helicopter, you can actually let your bullets spray into it. But having the helicopter going opposite of the river means you've got minimal DPS you can take advantage of, in the Zodiac at least. River shapes, when you're doing the hovercraft, matter much less because it's the timing of a rocket.
Yeah.
Which is why, going back on a comment I had earlier, Sergeant, that's why rocket, whether it is better or worse, due to RNG factors, it is more consistent whether it's better or not.
You just have to aim better. You don't have to aim near as the aiming is not anywhere near as challenging when you can just spray.
Yeah. So Patchy and Toto are both Nick and Toto are both on the new chapter, The Eyes May Be Watching. Patchy is having a good time on the submarine, and DevilDude is still having challenges with those alerts, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I'm talking about everyone, so everyone gets the curse equally.
Jack.
Nice deflection. Yeah. I'll be honest. When I learned that the way the alert system worked in Chapter 5 was the way it did, that level just kind of clicked. So I think Devil's just not aware that it's as long as he exits the screen before the guard calls it in, he's fine. But yeah, I mean, that is just a learning experience, and once you know it, I think his Chapter 5 will improve by quite a bit, and we'll start seeing some really good 5s from Devil.
So there was a good question in chat from Mockingjay, which was, is everybody using controllers or keyboard? And you can tell by the prompts that they use to skip that they're all using controllers by default. However, there's a really interesting mechanic if you because you can hotkey any item in the game on the keyboard, and that retains on subsequent playthroughs or such. So there is a theoretical way where you could save a lot of time by setting every item to a keyboard key and just using that in your future key runs, even with the controller.
Yeah,
Because Fran coded it where you can use essentially both at the same time.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that we don't have runners running both keyboard and controller. I guess it's because this game is still in such a new state. They're getting used to doing it one way before they start adding it in. But definitely having a keyboard aside, just specifically to go, I need this item right now. Click. It's one extra input, but the amount of time that would save overall would. It definitely could make that 49 turn into a 45 if you really learn how to do it optimally. Because there's a lot of menuing and swapping in this run when you really break it down into everything you need. Oh, Toto went for that cycle and made it. That's
That is a tight cycle.
So crazy to watch.
Like everything is when you're doing it casually, it's a panicked array of how do I get the clone out and move the body and do I have enough time?
All right, I'd like to say on public record, you're calling them clones. Their name is Ike. Like, I think I'm the only person who calls them that, but they are Ike.
I've noticed the speedrunning community has come out of their own of finding nicknames for all of the variations of Mike, but I've never heard one for a Scandinavian yet.
Ooh. Yeah, because they just refer to each other. Actually, do they even refer to each other as Mike?
Yes.
Yeah, they do. Huh.
They all and no references to the exterminators as well. So
That's true.
that is the true challenge: is finding a nickname.
Yeah, by the end of today, let us have a name for both the Scandinavians and the exterminators.
I don't know. Maybe that's a challenge for chat. So
Scandimake.
There you go.
First option, Scandimake.
Scandimake. It feels like a dejected person with a scanner at like a clothing store.
Just another day. Beep.
Beep. I'm so proud of us. One would. Oh, go on.
We got
Go
Toto doing the quick cycle over there. He's just throwing the EMP and getting into this building. That final room of 8, notoriously hated by us runners. If you mess that room up, you get put on such a bad cycle. And we talked about this earlier. Those cameras definitely see more than it looks like. I'm telling you, they do. Oh,
Toto's doing Scandinavians.
Was he gonna go rope? He did the steering his maybe he's doing it for XP. So, oh no, he failed.
Oh no.
Okay, well, he did cut the alert. That's actually something that's been routed in this. As soon as we found out you could cut the alert, we do a lot of stuff on this floor, and since we want to run any percent, we want to just run through. Cutting the wire makes it so that all of these doors aren't locked, especially the elevator. We want to get in and get out as quickly as possible. So when we found that cut the alert, it was like, yes. But it is interesting seeing him go Scandinavians here, because he's not going to get the ammo from the exterminators. He hasn't used any rope yet, so I guess he's going a middle ground between the two options. Was he gonna do the knock strat? Oh no, he's in recovery mode right now.
Don't worry, he just needs a moment in the bathroom. That's fine.
All right. Well,
but
this
bathroom break gave Nick the ability to go ahead, though.
Yeah, Nick just shot a doctor. Wow.
It's probably fine.
He's fine. He's so fine. He just duplicated on 2 different screens. He's fine.
That whole spiel, by the way, absolutely killed me. That is my favorite part of this game.
So Nick is in the middle of doing the red room skip,
Oh,
or the
well, he
well,
was.
not anymore.
he's
But
he's
can you
still here.
can you
Go on.
elaborate on this specifically and why this is possible, Sergeant?
Yeah, so there's an item in chapter 9 called the blood bag, and what the blood bag does is it essentially works like a med kit, except instead of healing you over time, which normally would be interrupted when you take damage, this room is constantly doing damage to you. The blood bag lets you instantly heal to full on the spot, and we can take advantage of that. And because of how much stamina and health items we've picked up through the run, we have more than enough health as long as the spider bots behave, which is a story for another day, to successfully run through that room, which skips picking up a what was supposed to be a required item and saves, I think, a minute and a half to 2 minutes, depending on execution. But more importantly, it cuts out a ton more RNG of more spider bots. And spider bots were the hot topic in the community for a while. Nobody liked them.
They're so cuddly.
So I believe, and I may be wrong on this, I believe it cuts out 11 screens worth of travel.
Wow.
In terms of
Oh.
how much. So like maybe 10 to 10 and a half because you kind of dip in on the side of a screen. But yeah, it's a significant amount of distance.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's about 10 and a half screens of travel. That is a lot of time. And that travel isn't just running across the screen. It's hoping for good RNG. It's throwing EMPs. You have to get more resources if you use those EMPs. Because normally at this point in the speedrun, you'd have maybe 5 EMPs, maybe 6. If you use those on the spider bots in the first section, I think he's fine. He's fine. He's coming up on a
No,
save.
I was just saying that was real. That was getting tight on that that cycle.
So crazy.
Unfortunately, I think he got hurt after he started bleeding. So earlier we mentioned when you reload a save, you get put back at full HP if you're bleeding. If you get hurt during that bleeding, though, the game overrides that safety and now puts you at whatever HP you were at when you hit the save, which can be detrimental because now he has to hit another save after healing to be able to get his health topped up. Thankfully, at this point, the only thing that will kill him is himself, so he should be okay.
You know, that's a terrifying thing to say to Jesse Fox.
I mean,
It's okay. Jesse is
Just a cough.
But at least end my problems.
You're a certified electrical technician, right? You
Yeah, that's
understand
probably fine.
completely how to handle wires like this. I'm sure.
I got a certification. I just don't know why it has Mike's name on it.
Tisk.
I will say that I've watched a lot of streamers, just the amount of problem solving that has to go into that area. Oh my gosh. It has been a joy to just watch. A lot of the problem solving in this whole game is just amusing, especially when you know what's coming up.
Yeah, I can imagine that. It's that thought of I know they don't know, and I get to watch them figure it out the same way
Yeah.
I figured it out.
My favorite is still, since, I mean, it's long gone, but just watching people, it's just like, oh, the sheep, that's kind of funny. And then later on, it matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh god, I forgot.
The first time it's funny, then you re-enter the room and it's like, oh yeah, the sheep. Actually, Fran, I got a question for you. One of the things we've been talking about is why, Nick choosing to heal right before the boss. This could result in his death. We've been asking, what was the decision behind wanting Jesse to have to go back to the helicopter? And if he doesn't go back to it, you essentially can't progress the game. It seems like a interesting backtracking point. Was there a particular reason you went for that structure, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it's because of the story itself.
Okay, so you felt like that told a better story if you did it that way.
Just to make the thing is, he talked to Robert about the helicopter. So I found a helicopter, but I can't find the key. But I don't have the key. So if you don't reach the helicopter, so this dialogue makes no sense. And the same with Mike. And so I had to force the player to reach the helicopter in order to make the story sense later. Because they talk about the helicopter.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense to me now. Like something like that would have never occurred to me because you obviously you have the script in front of you, so you could see like if this line happens here, it doesn't make sense. So how do we make this line happen in a way where it does make sense? So I see. It's a simple answer, but it's just
And
Thank you.
while that does make sense, there's also another hidden benefit to that type of approach. Have you ever played a game and it's just like, why didn't they just do this? It's like, why are you running in the closet in a horror movie? Or why are you in the garage with all the knives? But oftentimes there's many small details that Fran's games actually call out and say, well, this is the reason why you didn't do it. Such as like in the first scene of the game, it's like, why did you break the toilet? Why didn't you just grab the paper like a normal person? It's just calling out the ridiculousness is something Fran has always done naturally.
It's great.
It's a parody
It's
of video
wonderful.
games. It's a typical parody of,
Yeah.
break something to get the loot, and you give it like granted, but it's just a way to to laugh at it.
Yeah. I've never thought about it in terms of why does he get the toilet paper by breaking the toilet before? Now that I realize what you've done there, that is a great way to get you introduced to the universe that is UnMetal. It's like the absurdity begins with the first cutscene, but gameplay, you're already into it. You know what's coming as soon as you do that.
Nick's having a clean labyrinth.
Indeed, yes.
In fact, there's two ghosts that he managed to not even trigger. He moved behind them and didn't trigger their attack.
This is definitely he has more than enough ammo for this. It looks like he's grabbing extra just in case, but he's at the end of this labyrinth. I don't think he made a single mistake. Do you happen to know if he's on PB pace right now?
I don't know, but that's 55 minutes going into final chapter.
I think so. I think
Final chapter, how long does that take on average on any percent from what you've seen? The big question is 3 minutes or less?
Oh, yeah, definitely 3 minutes or less. It's
That's
really
more than enough time for me to tell everybody about Metal Gear Solid Speedrunners, or rather just Metal Gear Speedrunners. Metal Gear Speedrunners is the community for playing the Metal Gear series as fast as possible. Originally a Skype group chat in 2013, the organization continues to grow in scope and membership with the increasing popularity of speedrunning. MGSR's goal is to provide a community hub for information, entertainment, and passion for this storied series. And I know what you're thinking. This isn't a Metal Gear game, but that'll be our little secret. So anybody who's new here, feel free, join the Discord. You can find us on Twitter at MGSRunners. And yeah, thanks for hanging out.
Hey, Mac, before you go, I've got another great question.
I have an answer for you, probably.
Nice. I probably have a great question. If people wanted to learn how to speedrun Metal Gear things, what's the best way if they go into the Discord to get their attention? Just say hi?
Yeah, if you come into the Discord, I promise you, you're going to be greeted. We have a game. Everybody that comes into the Discord, we welcome everyone immediately. You'll probably be greeted by 3 or 4 people, and there will be an argument over who got to do it first. So by all means, join the Discord, say hello, let us know what game you're looking to run, and we've got tons of people who will be happy to help you, no matter which one it is, including this one, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that there's people in the Discord that just record themselves waiting for any new members so that they can, speed run who gets to say, hey, I said hi first.
There is actually a bot that times it down to the millisecond.
Oh my god.
So there's a leaderboard.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Now that you've said that, the next person that joins is. I'm muting General really quick. All right, Nick is here at the final boss. He had a clean run-up section. So a new strat that's come up recently is it turns out you don't actually have to fight any of the guards that come out during the escape. Because we pick up the body armor, which helps. Body armor gives you a 50% chance of not not being hurt, which is really nice. So we just run straight through them. Unfortunately, Nick has 2 med kits, so he's gonna have to tank a shot and then heal himself again here, which it looks like is his plan. Okay, good. He worked that one out well. Let's see if he is on PB pace or not. I'm excited. He's at the 3-minute mark now, so it's gonna be very close. Oh no, he missed the cycle, so he's on a 3 cycle now. But he did get him. 1 shot short. We see Devil here is in chapter 8 now. So he's also on good pace. I'm not certain how long his 5 was. 58:44. Well, GG Nick on another completed run.
Agreed.
My goodness.
In
That's where I look away
fact,
for 2 seconds, and a new chapter is on the screen.
Oh, 10 minutes, chapter 2.
He must 10 minutes. Maybe he took a death to sewer junk, didn't he actually?
yeah, yep, that was a death to sewer junk that I remember.
Mm.
I think it was overheat on the flamethrower, I think.
Yeah, if you're not careful in your timing on that flamethrower, it's a lot easier to just poof than you think.
That darn fire.
So
Yo, what's up?
what I think we're going to be talking a little bit more about is Toto's starting up the next run right here. Sergeant, I have a question. What would you say? Actually, no, we're going to go back to Mary, Novus, and Fran.
Oh goodness.
I know, but
Oh my-
Fran, you're first.
Oh my
I
God.
know
Oh
that
my
you
God.
haven't played this game for a very long time. But as the developer, is there a chapter in particular that you find you have the most challenge or fun on?
So for me, the worst, which is easier to reply to your question, for me the worst is chapter 5. The best one, the best I prefer, my favorite one could be chapter 2 maybe.
Really, you love chapter 2?
Yeah.
Nice. What about you? Let's go with Novus.
Really gave it that much thought, but nah, I do like chapter 2 as well, actually. As far as like the hardest one though, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with the docks just because in my head canon, people hate the sub so much. It is, driven by Grenade Guy.
Oh God. It's no longer Grenade Guy. It's Nuke Guy. Missile Guy. Explosive Guy. Oh,
His
we have
mine are
Nuke.
just much larger grenades.
And Mary, for you, you played both on easy and on hard. What are your thoughts?
Well, I haven't completely finished on hard. So I can say my most trouble was the sub on hard. That dang sub. Most fun? Gosh, it's all great. I don't know. Don't make me choose. The only thing I can think of is the whole spiel with the doctors. So I guess that was my favorite because that scene killed me so much. I don't know. It was all great.
All right, I gotta ask. As a person who voiced a doctor in a scene talking about the other doctor, no, that's just what they want you to believe. How did you feel as the doctor being mistaken for a different doctor from a scientist that's not your father's scientist, but the other scientist about the doctor, but not you, doctor, but the other doctor?
I don't have time for any of this.
Hold on.
All right. I got nothing else. By the way, welcome back to Plywood on the screen. They'll be starting a new run as well from part 1. Let's jump into here.
Operation.
Okay, I don't get to tell you what my favorite and least favorite are. I see how it is.
No. I was just scrolling down because you were so polite and quiet. I wanted to be sure you weren't AFK. And I'm
here.
No problem, Mr. Sergeant. As a speedrunner, what is your favorite and least favorite chapter?
Well, actually, I was gonna answer. So surprisingly enough, my least favorite is actually 7, but not because of the sub. I actually think the sub is easier on medium and hard than it is on easy.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah, the
How so?
missiles, because they fire 2 missiles, the pattern, the second missile feels deceptively late to me, whereas on higher difficulties, when 4 rockets come, or is it 6 or 8 on hard? I think
8.
it's 8.
Yep, 2,
Like,
4, 8.
They just boom, 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 right after another. Whereas on easy, them being spread so far apart always throws me off and gets me killed. But the reason that I dislike 7 is the room with the 2 mics walking around in a really weird pattern with 3 shipping containers on it. It's like the third, 4th room of the level. That room is impossible to take out both of those mics without raising an alert. I don't know what it is about that room. It is nightmare inducing.
You know who else is impossible to take out because they're so awesome? Welcome back, Mac. How can we help you?
Well, I have a €35 donation from the one and only Apache Smash. Don't forget to follow Apache Smash on Twitter. And he says, "Thank you everyone who worked to make this event happen. I can't believe I managed to get food poisoning just in time for it. We really hope that Apache feels better soon, and thank you so much for that generous €35 donation, Apache. We all love you. Take care of yourself, buddy."
I feel Apache was one of the people looking forward to this event the most, so it was sad to hear that food poisoning hit.
Couldn't have done it without him, really.
Agreed.
No, absolutely not. He's been a major help in setting this up and running it and everything. So big shout outs to Apache for everything he's done.
Yeah.
So, Mac, you've only had a chance to watch this all that much, right? Like here and there?
I will admit, I haven't even gotten a lot of chances to do that. I have played the game. I got most of the way through Chapter 1. I'm not super good at these 2D games that require a lot of thinking. So I haven't even so much as found the second encoder, I think, for the other radio.
Gotcha. So the question to you is, of the little bit that you've managed to see today, what is your favorite animal? Squirrel or rat?
Oh, jeez. Honestly, right off the bat, my first instinct is squirrel.
Okay.
In the little bits that I've watched, the first time that I saw a bit of UnMetal that made me say I need this game was the acorn portion. Big fan of that. Big fan of that. I like cheese, but I'm an acorn guy myself.
Nice. That's important. Thank you for your contributions to this very important conversation.
You're very welcome. Yes, this is intellectually stimulating conversation.
I believe
Um,
the acorn versus cheese debate will go on as long as this game is being ran.
May we never find an answer.
The world may never know.
So, the part of the game that makes me, just kind of pucker up a little bit when I see them is those corner walks around the shredders. Because it's like, it's only a few frames for them to go from a saving time to a instant one-shot kill.
Right.
This is the 1.0 kicking in again, but I feel so much more confident on those shredders, on the fast speed they're on. You slowed them down, and now I'm here like, I don't know if I can make that cycle.
I know. I'm the same. And thus I play on hard.
Considering it, you're winning me over with hard. I'm considering it.
You know what? I'll share, and later on I'll share my strats with. I'll talk to you about routing on UnMetal or Unperfect Hard percent. There we go.
I'm excited.
So, and then you get to tell me what I did wrong.
No, we'll co-op new strats. That's how we'll phrase it.
So no, of course. While we're watching Sewer Junk get absolutely decimated by the fist of Jesse Fox himself, I have a interesting question as I look up to Plywood, which is Plywood's on Chapter 1, and a almost travesty for
Mr.
a
Fox,
casual
the gallows
playthrough
news.
is to see the coin abandoned on the ground. The coin, by the way, is actually, in my humble opinion, one of the unsung heroes of the game, especially for speedrunning. For Unperfect percent, it is almost a requirement to possibly save up to 30 seconds. Because of the way it manipulates guards going into specific positions and speeding them up on moving there fast. So you can use a coin to throw on the ground, distract Mike, and the Mike will go over, pick it up. And with all of this work, you will be able to get them to move not only to a position you want, but to do so at twice the speed, which, by the way, is still twice the speed compared to easy. So it's getting the guards where you want them as fast as possible. So, Sergeant, my thought to you is, did you use the coin in your playthroughs leading up to your speedrunning?
For easy, no. I played the whole game on easy without the coin, for the most part. But on hard, I definitely did use it just because I couldn't. Oh no, Plywood is being attacked by guards in the boss fight. Sorry, that's exciting.
Oh
No, that is unfortunate. I on normal no, or on easy I did not, but on hard I did start using the coin because you really can't just run into the room and expect to have the same success. If you start getting shot on hard, it's over. You're not surviving. And that coin really turned out to be useful. Also I do have to answer yes because I did try crashing the game by meeting the bird and the Molotov together. That was fun.
That's still my favorite accidental bug in the game that you had to fix, Fran.
Yeah, that has. It's just mind blowing that weird that one interaction. It's like, well, technically, the bird. So but then, see, like that's just how that works. It's beautiful. It really is. It looks like we're having a little bit of technical trouble right now on the back end. We do still have Plywood up, so right now we're going to be talking about him and his escapades. Hopefully we get that resolved on the back end soon. Apologies for any technical difficulty while that is sorted through.
Yeah, but that said, we can now put our full attention to plywood punching mics and getting
Not the
stuck on
mics.
metal bars.
In fact, this actually is a good time to talk about like some of the specifics of the route. I literally said that because I thought he was going to summon the radio, and then he didn't. So, what do I know?
Well, I mean, I think that's a misplay. For example, the reason why they want to grab the radio before they leave is there's at least a second or so, if you notice while it's bouncing, that you can't pick it up. So searching the guard, leaving, and picking it up on the way back is a way to save at least a second.
Mm.
Um,
A lot of that came from just because speedrunners had the demo, and with this game coming around, we really sat down and hammered out a lot of kinks on the demo. Like those things got found quickly. It's like, oh, if you summon the radio ahead of time, if you do like Plywood did there, where you saw he moved very specifically to make sure he only grabbed the radio. All of these things, like, they add up in the amount of time they save, and we just chapter 1 is definitely the chapter we hammered the most so far.
Like
So
an example
impressed
is
by watching all of this.
okay. There's actually a time save on knocking him out if you punch him up against the wall, so you don't have to follow the body, search it, and walk back. You save another second there, for example.
My goodness, the brain power required to do any of these.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's just when you do it with enough repetition, it
Mhm.
turns from brain power to brain off. You
Yeah.
just do it. But
It's just so impressive to see
yeah,
like all that thought process you went through. You knock a second off here by doing this and this and not this, and I was just like,
oh yeah.
I shoot a guy and then I punch a guy and I
So,
go.
Absolutely.
What's really crazy about here is how different this room is in particular for hard, unperfect versus any percent, because you have to get the experience off all three of them. So the technique that was found out by I want to say it was Pusan, and it was at least the fundamentals behind it was found. Is you take the guard from the right, and if you step in a pixel perfect spot to the left of the box and drop the guard body, you don't get seen, but the guard body is seen, and you have to simultaneously throw a coin. So one of the two guards up in that cubby notices the body, that stops their conversation. The other one's like, oh, look, a coin. And you are able to take them both down in 4.5 seconds and be undetected.
Crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
And that is one technique that I'm the only one in the game in the entire categories that does, because I play that category alone right now.
You heard
But
it here.
I
Jack's
have a
hoarding strats.
no, I'm sharing them. That's okay. I'm going to be sharing them with you, Senpai Sergeant, soon. I have a weird feeling you're coming into my category.
Man, we'll see.
But I didn't figure that out. That was totally Puzon showing about the pixel perfect. If you do, there's still room to drop it if you're not against the edge. But if you don't drop it in that specific spot, the guard checks out the knocked out guard looking to the right in your direction instead of upward where you can sneak up on them. So little details like that. There's some very interesting pixel perfect strategies just running this that are fascinating.
Yeah.
That's my favorite boss.
You enjoy Rasco?
Yeah.
It is
Because
so
you have to
different
place
from
the
any other
ball.
boss.
You have to place the ball in perfect place, and it's very technical.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
But nothing easy in hard. 3 bullets in every round.
What I like about this boss on hard is the mechanic of Roscoe when he stands up. The time between him standing up and shooting is different from easy to hard, and being able to hit him with the globe before he shoots in hard is a very you quoting the game Herculean act. So it's really cool to get on. If you do it no shots, it's a really clean fight that looks really cool.
I definitely would agree with that. It sometimes feels like you just have to punch and go. You have very little time to line that up on hard. So pulling that similar strategy off on hard, very
So,
impressive.
Sergeant, can you explain why people do a load there, even though there's no damage taken at that corner in
Yes.
particular?
I can't. Well, on top of the fact, if the piranha does bite you, it does bring you back to full health. The way the piranha guys work in this game is essentially if you they wait. There's like I guess an internal timer. Oh, this might be a rough dog. No, he's fine.
Nah, he's fine. He's fine. He got the stamina.
There's like a timer that's ticking. So if Jesse enters that screen at any point past a fixed timer, then the piranhas will spawn. But that timer is delayed when you or not delayed. The timer restarts when you reload your save. So if you reload and then enter that room, the game will not actually spawn the piranha guys until I've not actually explicitly timed it, but I'd probably reckon about 5-6 seconds after you reload your save. That allows us to get all the way into the room, punch the object, get the object, and then get on the ladder. And once you're on the ladder, to my knowledge, the piranhas cannot hurt you. At that little manip makes that room so much easier because those piranhas will absolutely destroy you if you try to run into that room directly.
Hmm.
And then Fran,
Interesting.
who actually coded the game, could probably weigh in on how wrong that opinion was.
No, it's exactly what you said. So in fact, I was thinking he read the code somehow. But yeah, it's the way it works.
I
Easy.
thank you. I appreciate you confirming that. Like that was honestly just an educated guess because I've spent a lot of time looking at games and breaking them. So I find it really fun knowing how these systems work and testing it. And oh my god, Plywood!
Yeah.
Oh.
Never mind me. What was that?
Real quick thing of beauty right there.
Wow.
Trying to place the raft once is scary. He's over here like, nah, I'm just gonna place it twice.
Witchcraft.
Yeah. I think the phrase is "I'm not worthy." Like, what was that? And we have another Team Acorn.
Keeping tally.
I hope our local stats man is watching this. We have a guy who makes stats for everything. I hope he can
Nice.
see this.
Well,
He
right
is
now we've
keeping
got one cheese, one sheep.
track. Yeah,
Good
I
old
think
cheap.
Puzon just took one for the team all around. Shout out to Puzon.
Yeah. That said, in hindsight, I actually think that the cheese may be faster in some small form, literally for the fact of the cutscene skips. I'm curious about that. Small interesting note. In Unperfect Percent, you don't need to get the gasoline up there because you are not allowed to do doggo skip. So you get the gasoline over by there, right by the gasoline.
Oh, yeah.
Or right by the meat that's required to do that as expected.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, unperfect. Okay.
Unperfect, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you and me have to sit down and workshop these unperfect rules at some point. We can worry
Well,
about that another day.
Yeah, like when I show you my route and such, that'll make it an easy starting point for that.
Yeah, I think another way to phrase it would be no major skips, but
That's the spirit of it.
also
So-
we'll make Acorn required.
So
Gotta do it.
I don't know. We got to keep that going. One of the interesting things that Fran unintentionally allowed when we were making it easier for the casual player is to skip all of the breaking walls in this room because of the 50% heat reduction on easy. So when you go into this room and into the final room of all of the rodents, almost bad there. you're able to manage to skip all of an entire room worth of them breaking out of the walls.
Mm-hmm. I really like, speaking on the rodents, I really like how if you don't take them out, once you get far enough in the room, the rodents are just like, okay, and they just leave. They're just gone. They just disappear into space.
You know, I just thought of something a little bit interesting to say. I never really sat down and thought about how many choice incentives are in a game when you make choices all the time. We could make acorn versus cheese a choice for a GDQ.
Oh, absolutely. That would be a hot bid war. For people who know what that mean, I could see that being very competitive.
We'll
And
make it
having
popular,
to watch the cutscene too. Hey, Fran, you know what we could do?
What?
We can make a bid incentive to read your book,
You do what?
your art book.
Art book.
Yeah.
We can make it a bidding incentive where if they pay X dollars, they'll read the book at the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
The art book.
Anything like that with the sheep.
That definitely could be an option, yes.
Oh my, that
Anything that adds probably less than 5 minutes, good chance of it being a good option. Alright, so we got Plywood out of the level that gives everyone in this call heart attacks. He is moving on to level 3. We also have our other feeds back, if you guys haven't noticed that yet. Plywood was scaring us way too much. In fact, Devil is on the final boss. I'm
Ooh.
curious to see if we're gonna get a PB from him.
should we swap, recommend Devil be swap back into main? This has been a run in the making. I want to see if they PB.
For those of you just joining us, we have in the call, you could see the commentators on stream. Jack Lafier, who you are creative assistant is your title.
Game creative assistant. In other words, whatever Fran asks of me, I will do.
We have Marilyn, who is the voice of the Doctor.
Oh.
We have I've always called you Noves. Is it Novez? Is that how you pronounce it?
I always said Novus. There's a story. It's dumb, but yeah. Either way, it's fine.
No need to explain it. We all have dumb stories behind our names.
I'll get there, but it's like dumb as far as like more uninteresting dumb. But yeah, I'll tell it. Anyway, go for
He is the voice of Jesse Fox, and we have with us Unepic Fran, the developer of this game. Again, I want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here. It's a pleasure having you all here.
Hey.
Thanks.
It's
I like
great to be
being
here.
here.
Thank you for having us.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like you're sitting at an extended family dinner at this point, Sergeant. Like, granted, like Miri and Novas are not the two that have they're like the cousins who never met each other.
I'm
hearing
loving
so
this
much about
family.
Can't say the same.
So, do you think DevilDude is going to PvP or not? That's the question for everyone in chat. I hope so.
I agree. I'm hoping so. He said last block 125. I want this to be the 125. I'm very excited to see whether we get that or not.
Can it be 4922? Can DevilDude make? Oh, come on!
All right, he's gonna get the 3 cycle. Let's go, Devil. You got this.
You got this. Oh,
Little late.
4 cycle coming.
Da, 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 da.
All right, Devil's out. Let's see what his final time is. Congratulations, Devil. GG on another run completed.
Everybody, the GG to Devil indeed.
Does he PB?
Oh!
125. Let's go.
All right.
Devil.
Congrats to that.
All right. GG Devil. Let's see. How are other players doing here? We got Nick going through the sewers. Plywood moving. He just made the chloroform, and Toto is fighting the tank. He actually just beat the tank. Did Toto go for the skip? Do you know? missed
Which
it.
skip? There are so many.
So many. We did see Puzon go for it, or Plywood go for it earlier. So, I'm excited when it comes around on Plywood stream. It's actually possible with very precise movement to defeat Machine Gun Mike and move into the next zone before it registers the boss as defeated, which has to be before he disappear. Well, as he's disappearing, before the dialogue pops, before any of that stuff pops. Otherwise, you soft lock. That's fun. But yeah, Plywood goes for that regularly.
I'm
What's
looking
up?
forward to it. I've actually never seen that skip. I've heard of it, but never seen it myself.
Yeah, last block he went for it. And like I said, I imagine if we watch Plywood, we will see it happen again. He did do the skip. Thank you, Brisnik. All right, so we have reports. Multiple people have been pulling this off. They are confident in their abilities.
So, is there any interesting tech for any percent on Chapter 6, engineering problems, or is it pretty much just practice of execution, Sergeant?
Say the two biggest pieces of, three biggest pieces of tech. It really is mostly execution, but the first strat is optimal usage of grenades, like knowing who to move where, when to heal them. But I found a strat where if you have an extra grenade coming into the recycle screen, as you are walking up to the recycle bin, you can throw a grenade to break this key box so that as Jesse finishes depositing his items, the key pops into your inventory as you turn around to walk away. So that saves like a second. You need a grenade for it, but it's a nice little time save. And then the more impressive is being able to squeeze through these mines. Near the end of this section, there are a bunch of mines floating, which do a lot of damage if you hit them. Even on easy, it's still like 50% or something, right? It's a lot. But we found you only have to pop 2 of them, and then you can just ride along the top, and that is actually a pretty recent development, and it's saved a lot of time by letting us only have to take out the minimum amount of mines, but just casually going along. Yo, go on.
So you're saying the strategy is throwing hand grenades next to intercontinental ballistic missiles and grinding the top of a sub against stone while mines are beneath it.
You know, when you put it that way, yes, that is what I am saying.
Oh, okay. Just checking. Please continue.
I don't see any problem with it.
And then the last big strat was something found, or I think more optimized by Puzon, is the appropriate distance to fight huge eel as quickly as possible. How do you pronounce it? Is it huge eel or what's his name?
Well, I could assume the way I say it. Fran, how would you intend to say this boss's name?
I'm not English, so I'm the last person to speak about it.
Well, I mean, Toto's playing in French, so we're fine.
It's
I
huge
always
and
just-
ill. It's huge and ill, but the combination, I have no idea how it's pronounced in English.
I just made it. I don't know how to pronounce it, guys.
I always just say huge eel, huge eel, because that's the intent.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice that I've never seen that Toto was facing the sub the wrong direction and still shot a torpedo out. Was that just my eyes playing tricks on me, or did that definitely happen?
It's because the input was there when it was on the right before it started leaving the ship.
Ah, okay. So he buffered, if you will, the torpedo shot.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I've just never seen that. That was interesting to see that. There's a lot of... There's actually... I was about to say there's a lot, but actually I don't think there's much really buffering at all. That's probably the first instance of that stuck out to me.
There's, well, in terms of, like, you're talking about button buffering, the ability to hold a button
input
before.
buffering.
Input buffering.
Yeah.
Input buffering it's throughout the game. You can actually hold an input buffer when you level up so that you can choose to have a skill buffered. So, for example, when you level up and choose sprint, you could hold the button and push to the right, and that input buffers. Anytime you make a choice in the game, you can input buffer that as well. So the only thing that you cannot input buffer skips at this time. So you have to push a text skip with precision, or repeat it over and over again when a ship's about to blow up. Or speed run away.
So actually, that gives me a question there. Is the skip input being registered, or is it not, because that cutscene is coded in a way where you physically can't skip it, so you have to wait for it to enter a point where it is skippable? I think that's specifically for Fran.
Yeah, I've asked that question as well, and Fran's given some interesting answers. Fran, are you available for that?
Yeah, of course. The thing is, doing in the way you this way could just we could have problems here with the player just pressing a skip by accident, because he's keeping a key pressed by something else, for instance, I don't know, wheeling, rolling or whatever, so he could skip this scene by accident, especially if the skip time is short. In this way, I make sure he's not going to skip entire scene.
Okay. I definitely know when I was playing casually, I put the skip speed up to max to get used to it, and I did have to replay at least one chapter because I accidentally skipped little minor dialogues, and I was like, I want to experience the thing I just missed. It is definitely... I understand why you didn't put skip speed at max to begin with, because it is very easy in a few cases to just accidentally, oh no, I want to know that dialogue was.
Yeah, the thing is, I had two options just to do it, and people would ask me to, an option to review the previous dialogue. So I said, too much work, so it's better just to prevent this to happen. Mm-hmm. So, when there's a problem, you fix it, then another problem comes up again. So I knew that people were going to ask me to revisit the previous dialogue. There was something, just more options in the menu. No, too much trouble.
Interesting note about the skip speed in the options. For people who don't know, there are 3 different settings for skip speed, 4 if you consider nothing. And I suggested that to Fran one day because he had it in previous games, and I was thinking it'd be really cool if a speedrunner played this one day and they would hate skipping more a full second every time. That said, that was kind of the first suggestion I ever gave to Fran with the consideration that one day speedrunners would play this one. And he was just like, yeah, sure, I've done it in previous games.
Yeah, in fact, I didn't do it before because I have a specialty to increase the speed of the game 4 times. So every time I had to skip something, I was pressing the turbo key. So, but of course, it's just something for debug mode, not release. But when Jacklefeel told me, okay, I totally understood this, and of course I just inserted the quick skip option.
So there's a turbo button.
Yes, there is.
Yep, I've seen you use it, but I just realized Pusan could beat this game in 15 minutes.
Yeah, correct. It's true. Yeah. In fact, I managed to. It was 40 seconds for the chapter 10. No, but I already had the bomb when I started it, so it doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
It should be crazy just letting the turtle button to a speedrunner. My God.
Yeah, I'll tell you, if you put that in the game, we'd most likely say, nah, that's going a bit far.
That's a special category all on its own.
I mean, not to brag, I've beaten this game in literally less than a second, and they won't take my run. I don't think you're getting turbo up.
All right, to be fair, that was the demo, not the game, right?
Wait.
Right?
Semantics. Semantics.
I was about to say, you didn't beat the full game that way, did you? Anakin meme here. You didn't beat the game in 1 second, right? Right?
Finish. Hold on, he finished the demo in less than 1 second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God.
You fixed it accidentally, so I never reported it, Fran.
That's why I make video games. That's why I make video games, and I don't work in, I don't know, security, for instance.
Yeah, if I still have the clip lying around, I'll have to send it to you. It's just a funny way the code worked. Alright, so we got Toto. He just made his friendly Ikes.
His clones.
Yeah, the clones.
You say acorn, I say cheese.
Okay. Oh my God, Okay, so there's a bit of a joke that when you walk into the screen Toto is on right now, you have to just stop. Because that camera is always looking to the rightmost camera is always looking to the right. Toto just went into that room. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen on this chapter.
I winced. Legit winced.
Oh God, he has to. I don't know, because of the cycle he's on, he has to wait on this one, so it equals out in the end. But yeah, seeing some of these runners choose to go. No, don't do it, Toto. Don't.
I'm going thinking about it.
Seeing some of the cycles these runners take on these cameras it's so scary. Oh,
So he's French or Canadian?
Toto? Toto is French.
He's French. Okay.
Yes.
My neighbor.
Yes.
Alright.
Oh, he's getting the tree secret. I think
everyone has because there's.
Dang it, you beat me to it.
He had time.
Ooh.
No, there was lag. You probably got it.
But yeah, they have consistently gotten it and ran out before the camera has moved back.
Yeah, I remember. I specifically was talking about how I didn't feel that was possible, and then I did it myself, and I was like, oh, never mind, ignore me, guys. It's totally possible. But yeah, that secret is. It seems it was so interesting to me to see. No, actually, the chapter 8 secrets are pretty quick to grab. Okay, so Toto's opting not to get the other secret here. Seems to be a contention on which secret we want to grab in 8, but definitely grabbing one of them seems pretty popular.
The tree seems to be free. The tree crit, I guess, is what we're calling it now.
Oh, okay.
But it's interesting because one of the big discussions that happened was if you need this many hit points to help make the red room skip consistent, because the more hit points you have, the more time you have room for air and such. It's interesting to see how many people are going for, which I think on average the minimum is 4 that people want to go for, 4 staminas. And it's a question of where do you get it for the least amount of time investment. I think 5 to 6 stamina means it's safe, and 4 is average. Going less than that is risky, but possible.
I've not actually sat down and counted how many they're getting. I do agree with you. I think 5 to 6 is the typical amount people grab. There's binoculars there? What?
Yeah, it's a backup drop.
I see. I had no idea. There are so many boxes in this game you break and you get nothing out of, and I'm like, what? Why is there an empty box here? But
So, Fran, would you like to explain why many of the boxes are empty in this game?
Well, because good question. Why so many some boxes they're backup items in case you don't get it before. For instance, the wristwatch. Chapter 1, you can get a wristwatch in order to create the bomb in Chapter 10. But if you don't get it Chapter 1, so there's a backup one in Chapter 10. Of course, if you already have it, the box is empty. It doesn't appear because it's a unique item, and it happens with different items just spread around in the game. But some are empty because I didn't have anything just to insert inside. So. And I used these boxes recently to insert some of the uranium balls, because players told me that, well, in fact, Black Light Fear found out that some players found the lack of these uranium balls. So okay, let's use this empty box to insert some more. In fact, sometimes I just include things in the game just because they're empty. They can be empty. And I found very curious that some players want an explanation for everything. So if there's a door you can't open, so why I can't open this door? Well, it's a door, you can open it. It's just decoration. Yeah. But it's interesting how everything has to be designed for the player, instead of the player being in a context, in a scenario to interact with. That's something that I find very interesting, especially with my first game, an epic. So for instance, we were in the SeaWorld in an epic, and there was some sort of just a hill going up that you couldn't reach. So it was just because water was coming from there, and people was trying to find out how to reach, and it's impossible. It's just decoration. It's just weird.
Yeah. I guess sometimes it just comes down to like how you present something, because I've been watching people who are playing this game casually. The amount of people who started saying out loud, all right, where's the key card I'm missing? What key card am I missing? Because the doors, they show a yellow question mark key card, and
that's an example. That's an example. So this room, it's a room. It needs a key. Of course, excuse me. It needs a door. Mm-hmm. So there's no more scenario, so I just invent a key so you can't go through this room. It's just decoration. But no, they keep just trying to. Where can I get this key?
So in chat, there's a really interesting example of this. It's like salted water. Would love to know if there's some use. And it's just salted water.
The salt and the salted water have just sat there and be like, no, there has to be something here.
What are you hiding, Fran?
Let me tell you though, one of the examples of something having a use, finally, the rings.
Oh yeah. So that's something interesting. So when I first started the UnMetal and I inserted the first gods, I said, okay, they can drop ammo because we have no gun yet. So it should be just sad that they don't drop anything. So what could we do? Okay, personal belongings. So what do you normally have? You have a wristwatch, you have rings, you have a handkerchief, you have a purse, whatever. A gum. Instead, I ended up just removing the gum, but there was also gum or sunglasses. Stuff you normally have, and just inserted them into the gods just to be more, I don't know, more realistic. But players just they keep trying to find a use for them. So so at the moment when it came to create new items, the one from Ghost and an Epic and the one you have now, the Founders. So okay, let's find a use to these items that they have no use. For instance, the ring. In this way, I made sure the player could not, over spam an item, be too powerful. Just, okay, you have 3 uses, and by using the ring, you have to select which item you want to use, not all 3.
Yeah, chat's referencing the sunglasses, and I had to have Jack actually explain what the sunglasses did to me. It was not obvious to me at all. I was like, why do I have this? And the fact, I think the issue is that the fact, like, the sunglasses exist, and to my knowledge, they have one use. That makes you go, all right, there are items that have one very unique use. How does this item work? How does this item work? How is this item? But no, sodium exists literally just to get an achievement. I'm not gonna spoil any more than that. Have fun playing with sodium, guys.
Oh yeah. That's great. So when I was a kid, I used to play role-playing games, and one of the magazines I bought, there was a useless loot table. So you throw a 100 ties, and you had a big enormous table of useless loot, like, for instance, I don't know, 3 round pebbles or 1 piece of gum, it's chewed, or just something like this. And I just keep using this table with my players when I was a dungeon master, and it was funny just to find different stuff besides a typical, I don't know, a weapon or a coin. And I wanted to do it with an epic. I did it, and I have to remove everything because players began to complain.
I'm back to interject in everybody's awesome time that they're having. We've got another €5 donation from Freshman. No comment, but thank you so much for your generosity. Again, as a reminder to everybody that this is a charity event for Fundacio Kasumai. So get your donations in if you're able to donate anything. Otherwise, thank you for your support in just watching. Also, the developers here have been generous enough to give us a bunch of keys for giveaways, and we've opened another one of those right now. So if you type in !giveaway into chat, you will get an entry for a draw. We are doing 3 keys right now, so !giveaway in the chat. Come out of lurking. Get your entries in. You can get a copy of this game for free. No excuses. Put them in. That's it.
Okay. I wrote my giveaway. I won one. Maybe I can have this one. No. I have my own game for free. Yeah.
I'm rooting for you, Fran. I hope you get a copy of this game.
Hey, Fran, if you get a copy of this game, that means you could give it away.
Or maybe eBay, or or G2A, or I can get a couple of euros.
Oh.
Oh, Jesus.
Let's see. All right. Toto is just finishing up the wires now. So he's going to be moving on into the dungeon soon. I wonder, Toto's been doing pretty good on the dungeon, or the labyrinth recently, right? I don't think he's made any major mistakes in it, has he?
I think it's Toto's had clean runs every time so far, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, I'm looking forward to this. I wonder if he's on PB pace. It's hard to keep track of their pace.
Toto has been on PB pace. Plywood right now has a really solid run. Actually restarted chapter 1 a little bit just to be sure on some rough ones. DevilDude, I haven't been able to keep an eye on, and Nick has really had some clean stuff going on. I think Nick is really trying their best to break Puzon's go. So it'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see someone knock Puzon down. I have a personal rivalry with that man, so I'm very excited to see someone knock him off his peg here.
So, now I'm going to ask another question of chat. Have you typed !giveaway yet? Apparently, you can turn around and fight for the developer himself for a key to his game. Nah. Aside from that, so one of the things that we've done a good job of is patching the game over time, Sergeant. My question to you, as a person who has recently been able to play 1.04 because it recently patched on PlayStation, what are some of your favorite changes that you feel personally has made the game more enjoyable to you, or even just to speedrun more, take advantage of? Maybe even exploit it, in a sense.
Well, the the minefield's nice, but I feel like we've talked the minefield to death at this point.
Yeah.
I remember you asked me this question earlier, and now I've completely forgotten the answer I told you was, but I knew it took you by surprise when I said it. The minefield was nice. The game over screen being shorter was nice, but I remember my absolute favorite thing that got patched was invisible teleporting bullets. No longer exist. Thank you so much for fixing that.
Oh yeah, I'm really sorry for this issue. In fact, this problem appeared just by fixing another one. And in reality, what happened is that there was an invisible laser from the top left corner of the scenario to the enemy. And if you were in that right line, so you were hit directly.
I see.
So normally, yeah, it was when you were at the top left of the enemy, if I'm not mistaken.
That makes sense, because I was fighting the tank once, and I was to the top left of him behind a truck, and I got the invisible teleporting glitch and instantly died from behind the truck. And I was like, are you for real, game? Like,
so yeah, in truth, it's an invisible laser from the top left corner of the scenario to the enemy.
Well, thank you for that explanation. I'm definitely very happy. That is my favorite glitch that's been fixed by far. What about you, Jack? What has been your favorite patch note to play with?
So it's interesting that you mention that, because when you say patch versus patch note, it's two different things. It sounds really silly, but when you're trying to route and practice on this game, right off the bat, the removal, the game over screen took 6 seconds originally to get to the point where you can enter anything, and bringing that down to 2 alleviated a lot of stress for a lot of people, myself included. But regarding all of the things that were changed that I felt was just absolutely fun was actually Fran including the art book as a founder thing. The thing he keeps on telling people to read that they skip for some reason for frames or something. But honestly though, one of the things that I had a lot of fun with was writing joke patch notes as a way where it vaguely gave a hint on what was up, but we didn't want to spoil the game for anyone. And talking about feeding a bird a Molotov cocktail no longer bends or destroys the universe was a great patch note I enjoyed writing.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
That said, I think everybody enjoys the grenade guy updates every patch.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you want to know which is my most expensive issue fixing?
Oh, what is it?
The 4K.
Oh.
Ah.
Yeah, because my screen was typical 2K, the HD one, and of course, in order to fix this issue and just check that everything was working fine, I had no choice but to buy a new monitor, a 4K one. So this is by far the most expensive issue I had to fix.
Fran, please tell me you're at least using it still.
Yeah. In HD resolution, of course. Otherwise, I can't see anything. Okay, final fight.
Yeah, let's see. We one of the things we like to do during the final fight is point out specifically what has been stolen from us and how that reflects on the game. Right there, he stole the files, which we canonically get back, I guess, but it's really great when he steals the full potty because it's quote-unquote his. There's some good jokes in there. What do you think is the best item that you've ever seen him steal in that context?
Good question.
It's a hard one. I've never thought about it. Maybe a map through the labyrinth is probably the one that gives me a chuckle. Because it's like you have your own elevator here and a door. Why do you want a door to your
Why do you
a
need
map
this?
to your labyrinth? And poor maintenance Mike's got to explain that.
Well, because he's stealing a piece of paper, he has no idea what's written on it.
I wonder if they would have questions about the KGS protocol.
Yo, GG Totorock.
Woo, sub 1 hour.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not,
2.5 minutes from Toto.
Oosh.
Congrats, Toto.
That
that's
2
the only-
cycle.
Congratulations.
We have another. How many people do we have sub hour now? Toto, Nick, Plywood, have all hit sub. Well, Plywood already had sub hour, but we've had like 3 people hit sub hour this marathon already. So this is a lot of great improvement from all of our players. It's super exciting to see them all improving live. This is a good insight to, just how exactly speedrunning works. Just sitting down and doing it and repeating it and learning it. Right now, we get to see a good example. Earlier, I mentioned using chloroform to warp to the beginning of the level. DevilDude just pulled that off for us. And
So smart. I love that so much.
now he did.
I mean, look, it's a 2-minute timer to make it to the doctor, and 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 seconds. Spoiler alert. We're now looking at cameras.
Yes, everyone's favorite chapter.
Yeah, of course. Have you seen a movie called Sneakers? It's from the 70s or 80s with Robert Redford. Sneakers. They have they're a company and they try to break computer security. No?
Hmm.
No.
Oh my god, it's a classic. Robert
Hey.
Redford and with okay, then it's it's not worth telling this because well the thing is at one point in the movie so he has to walk very very slowly in order to prevent a movement detector to go off, and on the other side the mates they told him so they told him come on hurry up we have you have to do it quickly, and he says the only thing I can't do now is to hurry up. So here with the cameras, you feel the same with speedrunners. So they want to go make it as quick as possible, but they have to wait because of the cameras. So it's just it's a shame you haven't seen this movie because it's a great one.
Add it
One
to
of
the
my
list.
favorites, by the way.
Ah.
Okay, touch complete.
I think I've heard of that. I know there was a popular film called Hackers or something, but I'm not really big into TV and media. And it appears you are the opposite of that. You're very big into TV and media. So,
Because
I'm
because I'm
probably-
old. Because I'm old. In the back time, we only had TV.
Yeah, that's fair.
There was no the internet.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about MSX earlier and about not being able to do anything. There was no internet back then. MSX came out well, when did the actual MSX console come out? I know the first Metal Gear was 87.
Yeah, sort of. And it was MSX too. So the first MSX was in the 80s, early in the 80s.
Yeah,
It was
so
a golden
there-
age of Konami. Konami's golden age, 80s to 90s.
So there was a lot of time of video games of that age or personal computers with no internet.
Oh, of
Oh,
course. Of course.
God, How did you live? No, Nick took a death going up. That sucks. Unfortunate for Nick.
Can we just
Oh.
be honest? Elevators have caused at least 3 to 4% of deaths on our runs. They are a tragic and terrifying beast.
I'm beginning to doubt science. I'm gonna be honest with you, Jack.
Dude, the rabid elevators they're devouring their souls. Jesse, how did you deal with rabid elevators?
Well, I never got certification to operate one myself until I, found a mic that had a certification, and then I took it from him.
So that's
Same way
as
I got
easy
my
as it is to
electrical.
certify? Just go punch a mic and take it?
That's how I got my electrical engineering certification.
Can't argue with that. you're laughing at your own joke, Novus.
I heard somebody else and just joined in.
It's all good. So, right now, one of the big things choice that's in Chapter 9 that people might not necessarily know is the Scandinavians versus the Exterminators in the beginning. We've talked about this before, but I just want to say it for anyone joining, that there's definitely pros and cons on each. However, Sergeant, since you're more knowledgeable about any percent than you want to explain the differences?
Yeah. Well, I know for a fact the Terminators, when you take them out, they drop ammo, and it also permanently removes a guard in the quickest manner possible. But we've been seeing a lot of people choose Scandinavians. Where Scandinavians, unlike the Terminators, can actually be knocked out and manipulated. You could, literally move them so they stare at a wall for the rest of eternity, or until they decide to start moving on their own. And you get experience from all of them. So essentially you could think of it as the Terminators give ammo. Unfortunate on Nick there. He did not quite make it. He got hit by the spider bots. The Terminators give ammo, and the Exterminators give ammo, and the Scandinavians give experience. Is the big difference it comes to. Also, Scandinavians are susceptible to chloroform, whereas the Exterminators are susceptible to EMP grenades. So it depends on what resource you have and what you want to do at that time. Nick is having some trouble here in the red room. He's not getting an RNG pattern he's enjoying.
I'm really curious about how many stamina. Oh, was that 5 stamina I saw in that inventory?
Oh, I didn't get a chance to look. I'll have to see. He might have 5. But these spider bots don't care that he has 5. Ooh, did he have to use the blood bag? I don't think he's gonna make it.
I think that was a premature blood bag.
Oh.
No.
Which is the weirdest phrase to say now that I think about it. I didn't see the stamina that time.
Dude, the spider bots are just having it. Nah, they're just not letting him get through this. And just so everyone's aware, this is the improved spider bot.
These dang spiders.
Yeah, they in fact that was one of the most involved fixes that Fran and I worked through, is having to take all of the direct feedback from each of these rooms and help Fran specifically work with the patterns and such of these individual creatures. And a comment, just for the record, a common thing that Fran said is, "Oh, this could be too easy."
Yes, I'm sorry. Oh, he died at the very end.
Curse you.
Oh. CM Nick TV would like to ask a question of Jesse Fox. And if anyone else in chat would like to ask questions of Jesse Fox, that's an opportunity if you'd like. Jesse, how is your day going? Are you still a smuggler?
Yeah, it's been a fine day. Beautiful out in the countryside. I mean, yeah, you gotta make sure that you either talk to the right guard, make sure that you just don't get seen at all, but Smuggling's been good right now. Till something better comes up, that's just what I'm sticking with. Thanks for asking, though. How's your day been going, Nick TV?
So,
Ooh, spiders.
Yeah, they're just. Nick is just not having the time of day here. They are not letting him get through this area.
for the record, this is with 6 stamina, so this is the top recommended.
Oof.
Oh, and leaving and coming back? What? Alternate route I've never seen before, but it worked out.
Oh, I just realized why this is happening. It's because he's reloading a potty. And
Yes.
I mentioned earlier, potties are essentially like save states. If you guys have ever used an emulator, it essentially snapshots the game. So he has now locked himself into this pattern of spider bots. And the game has turned from reacting to RNG to reacting to this pattern. And it was apparently not a very good pattern, but he has made it out. He is
Yay.
through.
Until the next checkpoint, though. That's important to state.
Yeah. He could accidentally run into one of these cameras, and then it turns into a self-defense mission, because you do not want to restart at this point, or he has to do the spider bots again. This is such a brutal section to get through. The spider bots, the cameras, the guards. This is the gauntlet that would normally be at the end of the game is right here at the start of this level. Oh no.
You're not used to challenge.
Hey, Jesse. Why do you randomly show your fist to the north and east side of a guard repeatedly instead of punching him in the face sometimes?
I'm sorry, what? Show my fist to the north and east.
No, don't answer. That was the best answer you could ever give.
Yeah, you nailed it.
In that case, happy to be of service.
So, so as we're looking and doing the update, we've been giving Nick RP all of the commentators curse too much right now. Let's make everyone else cursed.
Sure.
It's all good.
All right.
So,
we got Team
go on.
Acorn on Toto's screen. I would like to point that out.
Corn.
Devil is. It looks like he just accidentally scared the bird. Devil still uses the compass. He isn't quite comfortable with the memorizing yet. Nothing wrong with that. And we got Plywood returning from Doggo Skip. I missed it. That looked very close though. He almost missed that. That Doggo Skip. So actually, now's a good time to explain that skip again. If you guys haven't been here, we found out that it's possible to skip getting the meat, which is a required item, by entering the edge of the screen and baiting the dog to come over to you, and then exiting the screen. And the dog's AI is coded in a way where it will run back to its point to essentially reset itself. So you can take advantage of that, cause it to come over, exit, re-enter, and that lets you ignore the dog entirely and make it over halfway across the screen before the dog even considers going back at you. And that allows us to skip having to get the meat entirely. You could heal on the other side if you need to, or you could just go to the next checkpoint and reload back for full health. That saves quite a bit of time, and it was really nice when we found that, because as a speedrunner, any time save is good time save. We really want that.
Yeah, especially when you can escape a few screens. a few
Yes.
rooms. That's to be a really an awesome feeling. Say, okay, I can skip all these rooms and I go in there. I'm going straight to. Has to be nice when you find out. This.
Absolutely, yeah. In
Yeah.
a 2D game, especially where rooms take time to, well, they don't really take time to load, but they take time to enter. They take time to cross. Every room you could save, that's significant time save that we really want. We have Nick here who is fighting Takuma. He's doing the safe strat where you bait Takuma around the room. That was a clean fight though. That was. Would you consider each slash of Takuma to be a cycle? Would you even say that boss has cycles? I guess I'm not quite certain how you'd approach that, but he did it in 2 slashes. So that was a nice clean fight.
Yeah,
it was.
I would not necessarily say cycle for that, but I don't know the proper term. Because each of the slashes are an action per se. You know?
Yeah, I know. Oh god. Oh, the 1.0. Nick reloaded that save on 1.0. That would have been run dead. I'm sorry. The
Oh.
1.0 keeps coming back.
I do believe we may have accidentally given you some trauma from 1.0 to 1.4. I'm just saying on his behalf, Fran is not paying for your psychology bills.
I accept that. That's fine. Yeah. So to anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, there used to be, if you got the map from Engineer Mike, that's what what's this called? Maintenance Mike. If you got the map from Maintenance Mike and then reloaded, poof, gone. It's just gone, and you couldn't continue the level anymore. That was not fun to find the first time. It was fun to find the second and third and fourth time though, because that's how we fix problems.
But I mean,
we fix this. I will fix this. Yeah.
And while you're taking comments about how it was in the earlier patches, friend, that's part of the reason why. Actually, this is an interesting conversation to have. All of the times you saw a problem in the game, you brought it up. Fran put it on. We put it on a list, and Fran was able to fix it. But this is an experience you haven't been able to have with any of the Metal Gear games because for some reason Konami's not reaching out and fixing the games for you when you have feedback.
For some reason.
I know.
Yeah. I know for a fact there's a certain Metal Gear which some people don't call a Metal Gear, called Survive, which has a lot of mechanics we'd like fixed, and that is actively supported. So it's been really nice that you guys have been listening and taking feedback and adding stuff to a list, and like the amount of interaction cannot be understated. You guys have been great at this, and I love the support and the reaction and the response to everything we've been giving you and how you've been approaching it. It's been great working with you guys and creating the game the way it is today. Not that it was just us, but it's been fun. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But of course, if there's an issue, I have to fix it. It's my duty as the programmer of the game. And yeah, I confess that sometimes I feel ashamed for these issues just slipping from our hands, you know. So, but that's something interesting to talk here. This is a double blade weapon, because in one hand, so you can ask us to fix issues, problems, but you can also ask us to make your speedrunners better. For instance, by altering the game in somehow that benefits you directly. And this is something that, of course, I can do for you because I love you guys. But it could be dangerous, because you are altering the game for your speedruns, which it's something new. What do you think about this?
No, I absolutely agree. Like as speedrunners have to think, we want it one way, but just because, I mean, if we could have a way, we would tell you, hey, can you make every room, can we just teleport across rooms? And you'd say, no, that absolutely not. And we understand that, but there are definite things where you have to say as a developer, no, I can't do that. That's that's going to change the game that I had for the people I intended it for. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think as a developer you built this game for speedrunners. You built a game probably because you wanted to build it and you wanted everyone to experience it. And speedrunning is just to be fair, niche way to look at the game and to enjoy the game overall. And you wanted to accommodate that viewpoint.
Yeah, the thing is, some changes for me could be just easy to do, but it should change the game because you are asking it, and it's not the trouble is not in myself. So for me, that's no problem. It's on you, because I wonder if you should just feel like you're cheating in some way, you know? Like for instance, you could get a game and use some sort of software just to change some figures here and there, some numbers that makes your runs easier. But that should be cheating. But what about asking the developer of doing it? So it's just something philosophical. I mean, for me, there's absolutely no problem of just helping you in some ways. That's the approach. So I
Yeah,
just wanted to know your opinion on this.
yeah.
Just curiosity.
I think every speedrunning community approaches questions like that differently, because what every community approaches their game differently. What one community says this is totally fine, this is totally allowed, another community might say no, absolutely not, we would never allow it. A good example could be like, let's say if UnEpic had straight up out of bounds,
Mhm.
one community would say no, we're not going to allow that because that fundamentally breaks the game, where another community could say absolutely, that's a fundamental part of speedrunning any percent. That's a pretty extreme example, but that's something that I think is easily understood, because out of bounds is going a place the developer didn't intend, and that completely changes the game entirely.
An
Okay, so
interesting point to look at this, though, and this is going and bouncing off what Fran said, is what happens when it's as simple as changing the electromagnetic duration from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. And while that can really help out in many different ways, is that type of thing versus using a cheat to increase it a philosophical way to look at it. It's a fascinating thing to think about out loud. One we'll talk about in a moment because we're about to see how well Nick did.
Absolutely. Sub hour.
oh,
He got the sub hour.
sub hour.
Unfortunately, not a PB, but
No,
consistency is key.
he had the
Good
problem with
stage?
the red room. Yeah, that red room killed him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that red room was destructive. A good stage 2, not his best. And a little rough on stage 5. I've seen Nick go down at least a minute shorter on that.
Yeah, we're learning people's times at this point, so you could definitely see stage 5, and right now most people stage 9 takes, I think, about 8, maybe 9 minutes. That 14, with the potential of an optimal red room for Nick there, that could have brought him down from a 59 to a 53 just on that red room alone. So like, just those little parts that could change the entirety of the run. But I shout outs to Nick for committing to that. He was close enough to the end. He went through with it, for the practice, for the learning, and that's what we like to see, is sticking to it. Sorry. Yeah, what's up?
Oh, no. Nick was just talking about how the red room layout was retained, and I was mentioning in chat it's because of the potty. The comment that you made regarding the potty was a really insightful one. So.
Plywood is saying he got guards even though he didn't pick guards. Oh, you know what? That might be Jack, do you remember I sent you a clip of I was menuing so quickly that it was spawning the guard in chapter 1?
Yes.
Stage 1?
Oh.
He might have menued so quickly that he caused those guards to spawn in anyway. So it might affect chapter 3 as well. Then.
Plywood. I think the story is apparently you have to go slower. Are you going to appreciate that feedback? I don't think you like that feedback. Yeah, no, I thought that was the case, Nick. So Nick's comment in chat is that he couldn't get the secret and therefore he wasn't able to get the bulletproof vest in chapter 5, which is at least you were able to prove it wasn't required for that red skip.
Yeah, bulletproof vest, because it does basically 50% chance of you not taking damage. Incredibly useful item. So knowing he didn't have that makes a lot of sense why the spiders kept hitting him there. That's just really rough to do that without it.
Oh, you had oh. So you defo had bulletproof vest. I misunderstood you. Thank you for clarifying. So, what we are going to do moving forward, there was another question and comment that I wanted to say about our previous conversation while we're looking at Boondocks. You were talking about how patching can be interesting for speedrunners and such. A lot of the information that gets to Fran for his patches, it's not that it's filtered through me, but I've got to be able to filter something because there's going to be people who are asking for, they would rather have hard nerfed instead of them choosing medium, for example. And these are very interesting things to think about when you're looking at game design. And some of the notes that I write to Fran are comical at the very minimum. Sometimes I'll just write out everything that the person said and then right underneath, and I hope Fran chuckles, I think this is a bad idea. Don't do this. But part of it is, but there are times that I could say that, and Fran's like, no, it's a great idea, and he chooses not to. So, while I do my best to try and filter some of those questions of, will this make the game easier or not? Will this be good for speedrunners or not? The question is, how does this affect a casual player? And it's really interesting when I'm like, Fran, here's a great idea for casual players, but it would also affect speedrunners, but it's a great idea for casual players is always the leading thought, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, a lot of, IGN does a series called Devs React, and a lot of the time what the devs have to say for more modern games is as long as it doesn't affect the casual experience, they're probably going to leave it. Like once the casual experience starts to get affected is when changes start to get made, and I think that's a completely fair viewpoint. Like you gotta consider that the casual audience is usually the audience that your game is first oriented to. I completely understand that viewpoint. I would not argue against that at all, unless your game was, specifically targeted at speedrunners. But I don't know how well that would work out for you.
Hey, Fran, next game you want to make it for speedrunners? And here's my suggestion, by the way. Hear me out. You give them a win button.
Very smart.
And at the very beginning, whoever pushes the win button first wins.
You joke, but there is a game called the B-Movie game. DS.
Oh, no.
And it has a category called the Credits Warp. And the only rule is you must see the credits as soon as possible. The thing is, the main menu has a button to view the credits. So the whole category, it's like 150 people have just recorded themselves hitting the credits button.
That reminds me of the 0% Pokemon category. Or the 0-second Pokemon category, where everyone is the same winning time because it goes off IGT and it says you beat the game at 0 seconds. That one I just know from GDQ. Don't pretend that I know what I'm talking about.
Dude, people will speedrun anything. You put an idea out there and someone will be like, I like that. They'll do it. So
I want
What's
If there is ever a UnMetal 2, Fran, we need to figure out a way to brainstorm just the idea of something called mic percent. I have no clue what it will be. That's just a
Mic
funny
percent.
idea for a category.
UnMetal 2 is just UnMetal, but
uh,
from Mike's perspective.
But there's something sure. If we ever do Metal 2, the speedrunners are going to take more than 2 hours to speedrun it. You know why?
Oh,
Because
no.
otherwise they could ask a refund to Steam if they complete it in less than 2 hours. So-
Right.
Oh, I know. Yeah. 'Cause there's the. Are you referencing but just the Sekiro speedrun, or is this just the idea of its own? Because I'll fill you in on the Sekiro run if you've not heard of that.
No, not at all, please.
So a very prolific speedrunner for Sekiro Shadows Die Twice was he recorded a video of him buying Sekiro on Steam, completing the speedrun of the game, essentially 100% speedrun, all bosses, all items, all collectibles, within 2 hours, refunding it and successfully getting the refund.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
So I think that's a fair goal to make it more than 2 hours.
I think the recent
Yeah.
stir about that was like some horror game was released and it was technically beaten in under 2 hours, and it upset the devs so much that they like stopped developing because
That-
Steam
yeah.
wouldn't stop refunding.
Yep, that did happen. There was a I remember that story.
Yeah.
He mentioned people were beating his game so quickly that they were just refunding it, and the dev had to straight up just say, "Guys, if you're gonna do this, I can't make games anymore. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And he just
Yeah,
quit.
that's correct. That's correct. That was my joke. That was a reference of my previous joke. You know,
Yeah.
you can just refund a game in less than 2 hours. If you played less than 2 hours, you can still refund the game. So that's
So you hear it here. Play 2 hours and 1 minute minimum.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's all we ask.
Speedrunners it's a bad business. You know, they can speedrun your game in 1 hour and refund it. Of course, no one knows that there's hundreds of hours before doing it. But okay,
You know what?
let's-
Maybe
Yeah.
we should do an achievement where if they play 2 hours and 1 minute of the game, they get an achievement of thank you for.
There it is.
Yeah, that should be awesome.
I like that solution. That is a way to do it.
In fact, a few years ago, I just wanted to create an achievement for playing the game. So, hey, thank you for playing the game. But then they told me that people could be angry because once you get an achievement, you could not return the game. You could not ask for a refund. So I just had to remove it. But I think the policy is different now. You know, this is stuff that change over and over again.
I want to name it long-term commitment. I don't know. I'm in a weird mood all of a sudden thinking about how do we make achievements that are funny and such like that.
You're already brainstorming. You can't stop thinking, man.
That does not. Fran, you've known me for a decade now. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, I know.
So on screen, we're watching DevilDude break into the cameras yet again. One of the questions earlier was talking about the string all over the place, and I think it was more of a reference to Chapter 9 instead of this chapter specifically, because the string is very clearly defined for this chapter. It's to make clones of Mike, right, Sergeant?
Right, yeah. Clones.
Yeah, clones of Mike. Anyway.
Yes, make Ikes.
Spell that out.
Yeah, M. Ike.
Mike. But in Chapter 9, there was a misunderstanding of what the strings could be used for, because it's one of those little things talking about user manuals and such earlier, where we had no tutorial tip on how to use strings in Chapter 9, which was later added in a patch. So if you still don't know how to use strings in Chapter 9, I will say that if you choose Exterminator, the strings don't spawn. And if you don't choose Exterminator, there should be a tip that explains it for you. Now that I'm being vague and non-spoilery, this is where Sergeant has an opportunity to say it, because that's what speedrunners do.
To say that you can tie Scandinavians up so they
Exactly.
never walk again.
Again? Oh, wow, you're
no.
horrible, Jesse.
I mean, he's not ever shown freeing the Scandinavians, so...
Mike said he would get him.
Alright. Yeah. You know
Maybe
what?
it was Ike.
Yo, welcome back, Mac. How are you doing today?
So far, so good. This has been a fantastic block. I've come to give the unfortunate news that this block is over. But that is not the end of our event. It actually just marks the halfway point. So I just wanted to come in and give a thanks to all of the runners that participated in this block. We had Apache Smash, who dropped out earlier, Plywood, Totorock, Nick RP Green, and ItsDevilDude. Thanks for hanging out. Some of these gentlemen will be moving on into the next block, I believe, and they're welcome to continue their runs. And we will see them in a few minutes, but we are going to drop to an intermission. Just a reminder again, get your donations in, ! Donate, for the wonderful charity that Fran chose. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank Jack, Fran, Sergeant, Noves, and Muri. 2 or 3 of these people have been here the full 6 hours, just giving us amazing commentary. So thank you all for the work that you're putting in. And thanks to chat and everybody who's hanging out and participating with us. This has been an excellent event. It's not over. I'm not saying it's over, so don't go anywhere. Don't close this Twitch chat. We're just going to switch out some runners, move some things around, and start up with a new block of runners. So we'll see you in a few minutes.